Well, good morning. Happy Monday. It's Monday, March 24th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a while. It's been a couple weeks since we've been together. Let's see. What have we done over the last 2 weeks? Well, last week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday was VBS. We do VBS in the springtime because it's cooler and there's people in town as opposed to in the summertime when everybody goes away. So I'm very grateful for all the people that joined us for VBS and for all the helpers in VBS. It was a great VBS. It was called Scuba, a self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, but it was all about Jesus. And I think the kids had a really good time. I'm very grateful for all the people that worked so hard to make that VBS a reality. So that was Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, recovering from VBS, getting ready for Sunday. And then Sunday or Monday, well, last week I went to Disneyland. My son-in-law's business partner was getting married in Coachella, Palm Springs, not too far from Disneyland. And we were in charge of the children during the rehearsal dinner on Friday night and the wedding on Saturday night. So we went to Disneyland. We had a great time. I don't know if you've been to Disneyland recently, but it was really wonderful time in Disneyland. The weather was perfect. I've been there when it's raining. I've been there when it's too hot. And this last week, it was just absolutely perfect weather for Disneyland. You couldn't have asked for a better day. Excuse me. We went on a lot of the kids' rides. We went on Pirates of the Caribbean, which is one of my favorite rides. I'm not entirely sure all the grandkids enjoyed Pirates. It is a bit scary. A lot of those rides are scary for a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. For a 7-year-old, it's perfect. But for a 2-year-old or 3-year-old, 4-year-old, it's a little bit overwhelming, I think. But we had a great time. We went to a place called Goofy's Kitchen, which is in the Disneyland hotel area. And they've got some dust or something going on. Anyway, it was Goofy. You know, you get your picture taken with Goofy and Pluto, and then they have Disney characters wandering around the restaurant. You have this breakfast. It was really nice. So I enjoyed that very much. And then yesterday, was it yesterday? I didn't know what day. No, it wasn't yesterday. We went to Joshua Tree National Forest. Have you ever been there? And I always thought it was just about the Joshua trees, but it's actually about the rock formations. It's not as interesting as the hoodoos in the Chiricahua Mountains, but it's got some really nice rock formations that we climbed around on. And that was fun. And then yesterday, Trace preached at Christ Lutheran Vale. I'm anxious to watch that online and see how that went. We went to church in Yuma. I have a really good friend who's a pastor in Yuma, so we went to church there to see him. They have a nice service, very similar to what we've done in our church in the past, but it was good. And the band was incredible, and the music was good. So it was just really good. We got home yesterday evening, and I was wiped out and exhausted. So I'm still recovering a little bit from that. But I pray that you all had a great couple weeks. We've been off for a couple weeks. I think our dear friend Polly is going in for treatment soon, today, maybe even. So we want to keep her in our prayers. All those who are sick, we want to keep in our prayers. A lot of things going on in that realm. We had Sharon pass away, and so that was a couple weeks ago, and I think her funeral is going to be at the end of April. So I'll keep you all posted on all that stuff. It's just, there's good things and there's bad things, as life is always about, right? But it was good to get away. It was good to get away and have some time with the grandkids. The grandkids did great. I mean, of all the all the stuff that we put them through. They were troopers, and they did very, very good job. I've been to Disneyland with kids that are screaming, and it's no fun. They did very, very well the whole trip. It was just really, really wonderful. Of course, there was 4 kids and 2 parents and 2 grandparents, so we each had a kid. So if one kid was, in trouble, we could switch off and do all sorts of things. So it was really, really good. That's the key, I think, to going to Disneyland, is to have as many parents as you have kids, as many parental authorities. I'm not really a parent. I'm just, I'm there along for the ride. Let's see. What else? We have a birthday today. Marsha Miller. Happy birthday, Marsha. May you have a blessed day today on your birthday. And let's see what else. I think that's about it. Let's go ahead and get into our study. We're in Mark chapter 7, and Jesus is beginning to do and has done ministry around the Sea of Galilee, and he's starting to do miracles. Now, the miracles of Jesus, remember, in the New Testament, they're called semeion, signs. We think that the whole purpose of Jesus was the miracles. That's not necessarily true. He did have miracles, but they're called signs. The purpose of the miracles is to impress upon the people that Jesus is truly the Messiah, the promised one from the Old Testament, the promised one of God. And he does some amazing things, but first and foremost, the purpose of that is to show who he is. And it is also to heal. A secondary thing is that he's healing because people are sick and hurting, but he doesn't heal everybody. And not all the miracles, we even understand why he did a miracle. I mean, like, what was the purpose of that one? But we do know that they're all signs to point him as being the promised one. So we have another miracle today. And this one's interesting because it's not a miracle of a people that we would normally think that Jesus does a miracle for. And so that's where we are. We left off in Mark chapter 7, verse 23. So today we'll begin reading in verse 24. Jesus left that place and went to the vicinity of Tyre. Okay, so where is the place that Jesus was in? Let me just back up a little bit because I've forgotten. They gathered around Jerusalem. Yeah, we have to go back a while. My recollection is, I'm not going to go back. I think he's somewhere near the Sea of Galilee in that area. But now he's going to the area of the Syro-Phoenician area of Tyre. Let me just bring that up real quick, if I can bring up Tyre. The 2 coastal cities are Tyre and Sidon. And let's see, right here. So you can see the coastal area of Sidon is up here, and Tyre is down here, and the Sea of Galilee is here. He started in Capernaum, which is Peter's home, and did ministry around here. I think he went to Jerusalem and back, maybe, but now he's in Tyre and Sidon. This whole area is called the Syro-Phoenician area. You've heard of modern-day Syria. Well, that is part of where Jesus is doing work, is in this modern-day Syria, which right now is persecuted. There's a lot of Christian persecution that's going on in Syria. My understanding, there might even be some killing of Christians in Syria today. The Syrian church, the Syrian Christian church, has been around for a long time. The capital of Syria is Damascus. If you remember, the Apostle Paul was on the road to Damascus when Jesus came to him, and Paul became a follower of Jesus Christ and spent the rest of his life spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only in Damascus, but all the way into Turkey and all the way in that area. Bringing the gospel to the non-Christians, or the non-Jewish people, the Gentiles. He brought Christianity to God-fearing Greeks and to Gentiles, and that was where Paul concentrated his area. So It's very unusual, though, for Jesus to go into this area, especially Tyre and Sidon. The people there were not Jewish, and to get there, he had to go through Samaria. Well, most Jews went through Samaria to get there. Jesus is north, and so all he has to do is kind of go north into this area. But these people were not Jewish, and they were Gentiles, and most likely Greek Gentiles following the Greek gods. If they followed any gods at all. So Jesus is in that area, and what happens? Let me pull up the reading. Here we go. It's over here. He entered a house and did not want anyone to know it, yet he could not keep his presence secret. In fact, as soon as she heard about him, a woman whose little daughter was possessed by an impure spirit came and fell at his feet. The woman was a Greek, born in Syrian-Phoenicia, and she begged Jesus to drive the demon out of her daughter. So this is the Syro-Phoenician woman, and she wants Jesus to heal her daughter. The daughter has a demon. And Jesus apparently wants to keep his presence in this area unknown. Well, he couldn't do it. I mean, he's got crowds coming after him. People, a miracle worker who is able to heal and do all these things, they want to be around Jesus. And no matter where he goes, they can find him. He secretly goes into this area. And of course, they know where he is, and they're going to come after him. This woman hears about Jesus, and she's like, I've got a daughter, and I want her to be healed. This is a holy man. He's been healing demons. We've already seen that he cast the demons out into the pigs. Remember Legion? He cast into the pigs, and the pigs went off the cliff. So he did that miracle, and she heard about it. Now she wants Jesus to come and heal her daughter. Now, she's a Syro-Phoenician, non-Jewish woman, and she's coming to a rabbi. First of all, rabbis don't talk to Syro-Phoenician women at all. We've seen that, in other stories in Scripture, we see Jesus talking to women, and most Jewish men would not even be caught dead talking to a woman, let alone somebody from a different culture. And so Jesus is approached by this woman, and it's very unusual for this communication to happen. This would not normally happen. And everybody knew it. The Jewish rabbis were, if they even talked to somebody who was non-Jewish, that was considered unclean. And so for her to have the boldness and the audacity to come to Jesus is really quite amazing. But she does. And she knows that the Jewish people do not consider the Syro-Phoenicians to be Jewish, pure Jewish people. She's not even Jewish, she's Greek. So this is quite an amazing encounter. And she wants a favor from Jesus. What does she want? She begs Jesus to drive the demon out of her daughter. What is Jesus going to do? Well, verse 27. First, let the children eat all they want, he told her, for it is not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Okay, this seems a little harsh, Jesus. So let's unpack this a little bit. First of all, it is true that the Jewish people called the non-Jewish people dogs. They were in that culture. Imagine you have 95% of the people in your culture are all the same religion or the same race, and then you have this tiny sliver of people that are not your race, and they come into your village. Well, they could be. There could be a lot of racism going on, a lot of, xenophobia when you're not from the same area. There could be a lot of this type stuff going on. And so the Jewish people would have called the Gentile people dogs, and they had a word for it. It was like kunas. But this isn't that word. This is a little dog. This is more of an affectionate, puppy type of thing. And so Jesus says, first we give bread to the people of Israel. That's what he's talking about here. The children. He says, let the children eat first, and then we give to the dogs. And he's like, I came for the people of Israel. That's my primary mission. And let them eat first. Let them hear my words. Let them have the opportunity to follow me. And then we'll come to the non-Jewish people, the Gentiles that are living in other areas. And it seems a little harsh. I don't actually like this about Jesus. He's saying it's not right to take the children's bread and toss it to the dogs. Now, he's not calling her a dog, but he's saying that, first we're going to give the bread to the children and then we'll toss it to the dogs. So indirectly, he's saying that whole culture is dogs. But little dogs, little cute, little furry, baby dogs. And why would Jesus do this? It doesn't seem like a thing that Jesus normally does. Jesus is usually either women or children or non-Jews. Jesus seems to be one of those people that opens his arms to all cultures, all people, and wraps his arms around them. But it is true that Jesus first comes for the Jewish people. There are a chosen group of people called the Israelites that were chosen by God that carried the seed that eventually becomes Jesus, the promised Messiah, who's going to redeem the whole world. And because the Jewish people are the chosen of God, their purpose was to bring forth Jesus. And then Jesus did first come to them to give them an opportunity to see him as the Messiah. And once they either accepted or rejected him, then he went off, brought the whole good news to the Gentiles. She is not a Jew. She's a Gentile. So the message, she's secondary on his agenda. Let me put it that way. And he says that you're secondary on my agenda. But what does she say? She's bold. Verse 27 or verse 28. Lord, she replied, even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumb. Then he told her, for such a reply, you may go. The demon has left your daughter. She went home and found her child lying on the bed, and the demon was gone. So she was bold enough and had enough faith to tell Jesus, hey, even dogs deserve crumbs, right? We may not be on your agenda, but please heal my daughter. And Jesus hears her and heals her. So regardless of how the rest of the culture around Jesus feels about this woman, she was bold enough to come to Jesus and ask for healing for her daughter, and Jesus healed the daughter. And so she goes home and finds the daughter healed. I don't necessarily... This is one of those encounters with Jesus that you just scratch your head at, because it almost seems like Jesus is being rude, xenophobic. But if you know everything else about Jesus, he was very open to other Gentiles, particularly the Samaritans. He was he told a story about a good Samaritan. So Jesus isn't like the rest of the culture. He rises up above the culture, but it does bleed through periodically in the discussions about the culture. And it's hard for us to understand because we don't live in this culture. We prize, I would say because of Jesus and because of Western Christianity in our world today, we prize being friendly and giving grace to other cultures. But that is not necessarily something that has existed in other cultures throughout time. If you are, let's say you're an Amazon tribe, there are still uncontacted Amazon tribes. You walk into that tribe as a foreigner, they're going to kill you. They're not going to be friendly to you. Most of those encounters do not go well because your tribe, the people in your tribe are the ones that you are there to protect and love and preserve. And somebody from the outside comes into the tribe and you don't love and protect and preserve them. Well, Jesus is an outsider in Tyre and Sidon. And there's this woman probably sees, the woman is part of a culture that probably sees Jesus as an outsider and not worthy of their respect. And maybe they've called, the Jews even worse than what the Jews call these Syro-Phoenician people. But Jesus, regardless of all that, heals the daughter and has this encounter. And we don't completely understand the encounter. It seems strange and foreign to us, but it's hard to read into an encounter 2,000 years ago in a culture that we completely don't understand, modern day Christian values. It's just very hard to do. But the bottom line is Jesus does heal her and reaches out. All right. Let's see the next story. This is verse 31. Let me find it right there. Then Jesus left the vicinity of Tyre and Sidon and went through Sidon down to the Sea of Galilee and into the region of the Decapolis. And so let me bring up that map real quick up here. So he was in Tyre and Sidon. He comes down this coast. He works his way through the mountains into the Sea of Galilee, and then he works his way into the Decapolis. It's called the Decapolis because there are 10 major cities in that area. This would be modern day Jordan-ish, would be a part of this area. And the 10 cities, I don't have the 10 cities in front of me right now, but there were 10 cities. This is the area of the Decapolis, very much a Greek culture, right? Decapolis. And he goes into that area. And what happens when he gets into this area? Well, let's find out. There, some people brought to him a man who was deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. And after he took him aside, away from the crowd, Jesus put his fingers into the man's ears, and then he spit and touched the man's tongue. He looked up to heaven and with a deep sigh said to him, Ephphatha, which means be opened. At this, the man's ears were opened, his tongue was loosened, and he began to speak plainly. And Jesus commanded them not to tell anyone, but the more he did so, the more they kept talking about it. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He has done everything well, they said. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak. So here we get another example of Jesus healing. This is in the Decapolis. So probably not Jewish people here. This is just a man who's deaf and, let's see, a man who is deaf and could hardly talk, and they begged Jesus to place his hand on him. If you're deaf, you can't really talk. It's very, very hard for people who are deaf to communicate because they don't understand the words and they don't understand communication. If you've ever been around somebody who's deaf, they try. And today we're a whole lot better at trying to communicate with the deaf than we've ever been. But back in Jesus' time, it would have been very, very, very challenging. And they didn't have the technologies that we have today for that. And so this man, being deaf, has to completely rely upon other people to live his life. And they bring him to Jesus, and Jesus heals him. He's able to hear, and he's able to speak. And the people are amazed at this. And of course it's amazing because Jesus is a healer. This is one of the things that Jesus does to show the world that he is truly the Christ. And he says, don't tell anyone. It's like when your children say we're pregnant, but you can't tell anybody, which happens all the time. I hear this all the time from all the children of this millennial generation. We're pregnant, but you can't tell anybody. Like, how can I not tell anybody? You've got to be kidding me. It's so hard. And then because, we live in truth, right? And so we don't want to, have to hide things like this, but apparently we do. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes these days. Can't tell anybody I'm pregnant, but you can't tell anybody. Then don't tell me. If you're pregnant, don't tell me. Just wait until you can tell, when I can tell people, then you can tell me, all right? Oh, but we need you to make plans because we want you to be there. And the more time we give you, the more plans you can make. Yes, but you can't. I have to make plans too. How do I tell people? All right. Anyway. All right. So Jesus is healing people. He makes the deaf hear. You can't tell anybody, but they tell. You can't hide Jesus from the world. You simply can't do it. He's amazing. He is large. He's in charge. He's healing people. It's wonderful. All right. So I think we'll end it there, and we'll start in Mark 8 when we get together tomorrow. Let's close in prayer. Gracious God, thank you for this day. Thank you for filling us with your grace over the last 2 weeks. Thank you for getting back together again. Keep us in your grace until we meet again. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, let me move over here and see what we're doing. Welcome home. Welcome back. Yeah, I think you're right. Jesus was speaking the way that others in the culture would have talked, and she passed the test. I think you're absolutely right. All right, so we will get together tomorrow. Thank you, all of you, for joining me online. It's good to be back together again, and I see that the sun is up. It was up even before we started, but it was wonderful. And so we will get together tomorrow. Until then, take care. God's blessings. Bye.